I'm going to start this video by saying exactly what the title said, just to prove I'm not even doing clickbait. Legendary Pokemon are meaningless. Specifically, they're meaningless to you, the player. I say this without reservation, and if you want to hear my reasoning, stick around. I figure the ones who don't want to find my voice annoying or want to make a derogatory comment are already doing so and have left. Okay, everyone's still here? Now let me explain. There's going to be some story time. There's going to be a few rants in this video, but I will stay as close on point as possible and use those pieces to illustrate my point further. First, we'll go over my own experience with Pokemon. Then I will go over the aspect of acquiring a legendary. Then we'll talk about what individual players do with them. I'll talk about how players refer to legendary Pokemon and bring it full circle to challenge you personally. Finally, we will take an in-depth look at the cause of this, the way legendaries are used both by developers and the community at large. My first point, my experience with Pokemon only comes vicariously through others up until April 27th, 2022. You see, I was the kid on the 6 o'clock news whose parents had burned their Pokemon cards and banned them from interacting with Pokemon altogether. My parents were those ultra-conservative, right-wing Christians you hear about on the news. So when I moved out and things were more about survival, Pokemon just never interested me. The bad memory sticking with me. And it was never something I picked up. I never got a chance to explore or indulge, either for financial reasons or just general lack of it being in the forefront of my mind. Then, during one of my live streams on April 19th, 2022, someone asked a hell of a question to me. What is your favorite Pokemon? My answer was, I've never played or watched anything related to Pokemon. My entire live stream was genuinely shocked and flabbergasted. So I made a deal. If they would sponsor and support it, make it possible and pay the expenses, I would play a Pokemon game. When asked which one, I said, I'll start with the first one, I guess, after I figure out some rules to make it difficult. What began there was what I called an Iron Man game, and later found out the rules were something called a Nuzzlock. So I just adopted those rules. You see, to me, a lot of games have to have their difficulty, have to have their innate challenge, and have to have permanent consequences when you fail those challenges. I like games like RimWorld. I played XCOM 2, Long War 2 on Legendary Iron Man as the very first Let's Play on this channel. I beat it. I have the achievement. That was 7 years ago. I have been looking for something similar to XCOM ever since. I might have found it. With childlike wonder, I dove into Yellow, exploring and trying to understand the game that came out when I was a kid, having teased me with posters of a turtle with big cannons or an angry mouse with electricity pouches. Now I get to play with the angry electric walking taser rodent. Named it Nina and enjoyed the experience, even with the difficulty. I found myself enjoying Pokemon. I slammed into Crystal and said, you know what, I'll just keep trying them out until I find one I absolutely cannot stand. And then got deathly ill and hospitalized. Started playing Pokemon Go and jumped into Emerald. Recovered from the illness, got into Platinum, then took a break while my computer was dead and dove back in and finished Platinum before the end of 2022. Now firmly locked into a Genlock Nuzlocke, I finished Black 4 days ago and immediately started X without even missing a beat. And then I started scripting this video. I noticed something when playing Pokemon though. There's some kind of rush or goalpost to acquire a legendary, but also they lack many nicknames that we would normally put on them, both from me and my friends. I mean, I have some names that mean something to me, or how I met a Pokemon, or something of that nature, or something that makes them feel more real are mine. Glitch the Talonflame, Amber the Amoris, Tank the Turtwig, Jenny the Murderbird Pidgeot, but even I noticed I didn't nickname the legendaries. Because of my experience in Pokemon Go, I also found them passé. I find that I don't go out of my way to catch them. I run from place to place for another Fletchling in hopes it's a shiny. I'll seek out a day where I chase down 24 Hisuian Braviaries until I'm out of coins and passes. For nearly 2 hours of just running from gym to gym. But a legendary is meh. I looked at that and found myself shocked. How could I pass them up? Right now in the park, here's a screenshot. I just came from here. And I find myself completely and utterly unexcited despite the fact there's a small group of 10 people who've been roaming the park for hours, constantly slinging raid invites to me, yet even with the fact I have passes, I have no interest. Mega Evolution for Gardevoir, Pidgeot, or Ampharos, and I come running. But these? I just don't want them. I even like Kyogre. Yes, I, the person who has Galeophobia to the point I won't go in the ocean for some reason because I'm absolutely terrified, likes Kyogre. And if I had no other choice and no other alternatives, I'd join Team Aqua over Team Magma. Bite me. But it's got me thinking, what do you do with legendaries? Serious question. I don't see them that often when I'm streaming. And bringing up the group for a raid battle while I'm on stream, we often go after tier 3 or mega evolutions. We don't necessarily jump on the legendary. Hint, hint, go in the description. Join me over on Twitch. It's long enough in YouTube that after screwing me over for 4 years and moving to Twitch, I can advertise it now openly because we've been far enough in the video. But yeah, what do you do with them? Let's talk about it. The process of catching them to the life they live with us. Most legendaries you catch by throwing a Master Ball at it. Yeah. And be done with it. That's kind of what happens 9 out of 10 times. And the 1 out of 10 times where that doesn't happen creates stories for you to share with your friends, whether you caught it or not, and creates massive hour-long YouTube videos of that experience. But most legendaries are caught with a Master Ball. Okay. Now, are they nicknamed? No. You don't. In general, most people I see with legendaries don't have them nicknamed. They have everything else nicknamed. Not the legendary. Either you put something memey for laughs or ridiculously stupid to make fun of the Pokemon in question, but otherwise they're still just named Giratina or Arceus. And you don't bother. I myself, at the time of recording, have 40 legendaries in Pokemon Go, and I nicknamed one, an Articuno. I have shiny of most of them. I haven't even bothered to name the others. I traded a shiny Moltres today on the day of recording to get a Pokemon for someone else that I'm just going to give to them for an egg that of their choosing that I won't even know the contents of. Think about that. That egg will mean more to me than that shiny Moltres ever would. And that's strange. Something else about Legendary I noticed. In Pokemon Go, they have size variation. But if you upload them to home, they change to their default size. And arrive in any other game sent out from home in their default size. They keep their size variation so long as they remain in Pokemon Go, but the moment you send them to any other game, that part of their personality is lost forever. I found that weird. In Arceus, Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet even, legendaries are a fixed size. Pseudo-legendaries and even paradox Pokemon are not a fixed size. I had to pause and take that in. Legendaries not only exist as a unique Pokemon, but they can't be bred. So without Pokemon Bank and later now Home, you could only ever get one. That or some complex trading methods to send it off so you could start a new game and then send it back when you could control it. And it would count as a trade Pokemon, and that would just suck. Or, playing through a game and then transferring them to the next game and then playing back through the other game to get another one. It's just way too complicated to get more than one. Except if you're playing Pokemon Go. So far, that means there is no unique mark on a legendary except if it's shiny or not. Period. They don't have a size variation. Color variation is only shiny. And players are collectively not nicknaming them. Even if they do, we still refer to them as their species rather than their nickname. Even if in a Nuzlocke this happens. I refer to my Turtwig as Ginger Tank or my Scizor as Salad Maker. Thank you both for making the Platinum run even possible. You glory-seeking bastards. But for everyone else, our legendaries just exist. They have the highest stats in the game, and furthermore, most tournaments and Nuzlocks ban their use. So anything competitive just says, no, you're not allowed. And we just collectively, in our own private time, don't use them. They're not the chosen ones to us. We play against each other in random battles with strangers or in battles with our friends. Legendaries aren't used or are outright banned. Pokemon as a community have entire channels devoted to embarrassing players who spam legendaries as their team. Thanks, Temp6T, for all the laughs. Man, some weird people are getting shoutouts today. They don't even know me. Yet I am willing to say Pokemon Challenges goes out of his way to highlight other things besides legendaries that can be used or should have been used in every Nuzlocke run he goes over and reacts to. It's almost in every way, if anything, in a battle, a legendary is a hindrance to a team. They are designed to act as sole providers except when hard countered, and therefore when playing as a part of the team, they tend to not play well with the rest of the team or form a synergy. I wanted hundreds of Nuzlocke videos to watch, and I did. I sat through them all. And the legendary clause is either applied with a religious fervor, or players of the Nuzlocke say they feel dirty about using the legendary in a battle. It's like legendaries have a bad name or a terrible rap or leave a foul taste in our mouth. I'm not advocating for their use, merely observing people's opinions and reactions to them. How do we use them? They sit in our PC boxes as trophies and achievements. Even I'm guilty of this because the one legendary I caught was during Yellow, and I decided to not use it for the final run, and that was an Articuno named Frozy. Frozy just sat in the box until the end of the game, never got a chance to shine, and when my old computer died, she died with it. The Pokemon that tend to be our final team are either the ones we must take or the ones that have been with us from the journey since the beginning. Legends are almost never considered a part of anyone's final team in my experience. I talk to my friends, I talk to my viewers, I talk to everyone I could. Legendaries are not on the team. I would say my sample size is small. My Twitter sample size is 45. My Twitch sample size is probably close to 200. My individual friend groups and friendship communities sample size is probably around 350 to 400. So my sample size is less than 1,000. But overall, I find that of that sample size, the Twitter vote says 22%, and that sounds right, of individuals actually say a legendary is on the team. They're always a kind of force of nature, a kind of concept that we shouldn't violate, and only do so in a way that either makes us laugh or in extreme desperation. people don't get attached to them, I find. You catch them so late in your game normally, except Scarlet and Violet, that they're just there. The Pokemon you use in your championship team are often your Pokemon. That means a few things to me. Our emotional attachments to legendaries is distant at best, unlike your starter, or your first catch, or the Pokemon that led you through multiple gyms and held the torch for the rest of the team. The legendaries, we just don't invest our time to train them, choose them for battle, or actually nickname them. I'm consciously choosing a weird language for this, by the way. Have you noticed? And even when we do nickname them, we still refer to them as their species and not the name we called them in most instances. We don't use legendaries. The more I think about it, the more I type about it, the more I realize that legendaries are really just a cool box art. That's it. They're something that we ourselves get attached to as a concept rather than as an individual. We attach to our starters as an individual. Some bird or normal type we caught early on becomes our little mascot, and a few other things along the way that were particularly valuable, noteworthy, and wonderful, and filled us with childlike wonder when they became a part of the team. That's it. That is all a legendary is to all of us. It's a trophy we got at the end of the journey to say we got it, and it is a Pokemon we have. Nothing more, which feels wrong. We have them in our PC boxes. We show them off to our friends, almost like a trophy you'd mount on a wall. It's like a badge of honor, but did you actually train it? Probably not. If you did, you just put it up to a level 100 and then boxed it forever. But to all of us, Giratina is still Giratina. Arceus is still Arceus, Mewtwo is still Mewtwo, Kyogre, Groudon, Rayquaza, all of them. They are still their legendary, and by extension, that's their name. In essence, here's what I'm saying because it comes up on stream a lot. How do I feel about legendaries? They're cool set pieces. They make nice boss battles. They're actually amazing bosses, and their designs are wonderful. But they're things to sit in the distance, out of reach, forever. They make a nice game goal to achieve, but once you've achieved it, the reward is hollow. Another Pokemon. You've caught 100 by the time you get to it. What makes it so special? It didn't stand beside you on the journey. It didn't grow from a small child to a warrior who's ready to defend you. It is just a set piece that you acquired. Just the setting, it is creating the atmosphere rather than existing in it. Even in Scarlet and Violet, I look at people's teams and the legendary is your swim, fly, climb, transport, and he's a nice set piece for the set piece battle at the end of the game or for the individual cutscenes. But do you actually put him on your team? The vast majority of players I see do not. They use the other Pokemon species they caught, the ones that they have been training and have control over. But almost never is the legendary unique one the one to be put into battle. I did an informal poll, a strange one. Twitter only let me have 4 options. I wanted 6, so I had to condense a little bit. And the poll only has a few people, but here it is. I mean, what do you do with them? Do you bother training them to your level cap? Do they become a part of your run, or they just sit in a box and you show them off? And a check mark in your Pokedex. Comment below. I want to hear it. I want to gather more data besides the immediate about 1,000 people I talked to. This video's not done. There's more, a lot more, but I'm taking a second to tell you that even if you're watching the premiere live, you need to go leave a comment so I can get the research data for a follow-up video. It bothers me so much that I asked Ginger to put a clip here of me casually releasing Reshiram from Pokemon Black with zero hesitation. It was part of my Nuzzlock run, and at the end of it I said, go free. Despite the fact there were people in chat screaming for me to give it to them. The answer is no. Yeah, I did that on purpose. Without prompting and not a meme, I really meant it. That is what happens to my legendaries. I let them go. Because they don't deserve to be caged. And they're not going to be part of my team. Hit the like button, share with your friends, especially if they play Pokemon. I want that discussion in the comments. I've still got a lot more of this video to go. We're only on page 5 of 13 of this script. But my challenge to you now is, what exactly do you do with your legendaries? Go on, I'll wait a moment. And I'll reply to the comments in a week. If you don't have a comment, at least put ... for the algorithm and share this with your friends who play Pokemon. Put this out there. Put yourself out there is what I'm asking. Because this might be something important people should weigh in on. Now we've established patterns for the trainers and for the adventures. There is a two-way street here. Game developers, how do they use a legendary? In Generation 1, all legendaries are optional encounters that you have to go out of your way to acquire. Every one of them. Moltres is found in a cave that you don't have to go to while you're on Victory Road or at the end of the game. Articuno is found at the bottom of an ice cavern that you don't have to go to on your way to get the 7th gym badge from Cinnabar Island. Zapdos is located in a place that you cannot access until you have Surf and Cut. And for spite purposes, that area is not even a place that you pass by casually. You don't know it's there unless you remember to go back and look. And if you don't go back and look, you're not punished for not exploring the power plant. Mewtwo is completely locked off in a cave that you have a person telling you can't pass until you're powerful enough, that you can only access once you beat the game. Each of their encounters is unique and you are only allowed one. Once the one is done, that's it. You're never going to encounter them again. If you messed up your catch, I hope you didn't save game. On the surface, this makes the legendaries in the first game inaccessible unless you're going out of your way to get them. They aren't normal Pokemon. They usually have a puzzle that has to be solved to get to them, and a benchmark that's incredibly high to even challenge them. They're an achievement. A kind of goal with the reward of being the most powerful Pokemon in the game. The problem? They don't experience the journey with you. Rather than being a companion on the journey, they themselves are the reason for that piece of the journey. They're the objective, not the friend you met along the way. They become less of a Pokemon you want to experience the world with, and more a trophy to show off to your friends. Generation 2. Let's talk about it. Let's see. Ho-Oh and Lugia are both acquired by going to a specific place, depending on which one is on your box art, with a specific item you had to acquire, and guess what? You only get one shot. The strangeness here is that it repeats the pattern with the previous generation with these two. The legendaries are out of the way. The difference is they're now the box art. They are the cover of the games. Generation 1's art of red, green, blue, and yellow had the starters of your choice in their fully evolved form on the box. In Yellow's case, you weren't allowed to evolve the Pikachu during Yellow. Now, however, for the first time, the game's legendary has the focus on the box art. So they are located out of the way in far-off locations that are difficult to get to, require top-tier teams to even attempt to catch them when you get there, and now are the promotional material. Now for a little detour, see, as of the second Pokemon movie, Pokemon 2000, and all subsequent movies that involve legendaries as well as the anime, I noticed something. There's an active, concentrated effort to make the ones who seek legendaries for their power or for the glory or for anything of that nature, the bad guys. The good guys' sole objective is to release the legendaries from their imprisonment and set them free. So yeah, on the detour to the anime series, the message is, you aren't supposed to catch these. They aren't yours. But to the games, we have another set of legendaries for Generation 2. Suicune, Raikou, and Entei are found randomly wandering Johto after a cutscene in the burned out tower. There's a small chance they will appear anywhere that you're walking around. In my own Nuzzlock playthrough, which I don't think we have the footage for this part, or probably do but can't find it, I only ever saw one, Raikou, on a route when I had level 30 Pokemon who had no chance of catching him, in a position I did not have the HM to even get into. So even if I wanted to, and even if I had Pokemon who could take him, I couldn't physically get to him. That is how rare those spawns are. So we can see the developers are using 3 messages here. Look, don't touch. For the box art legendaries, that is the message for using them for the promotional material. They will always be in secluded places. The games are putting them in out-of-the-way areas, away from the players. They aren't yours. The anime goes hardcore every single time you see a legendary, that it's not to be caught, merely observed and acknowledged, but always set free in the wild. And the games themselves preach of leaving the legendaries alone, particularly Ho-Oh at this point. Generation 3. Alright, so the legends are used for box art, but now they are central to the plot. They take center stage as the thing that is truly what makes the plot of the game move forward. If you bought Ruby, Groudon, and Team Magma are front and center. Sapphire, it's Kyogre and Team Aqua who steal the stage. And Emerald, oh boy, we let them fight, and it's a third one who breaks up the fight. The fight scene between the legendaries for its time is quite epic and genuinely impressive for the hardware it was placed upon. While they are fighting, you see the player is sent to a remote location to get the third legendary Rayquaza and give it the steel chair to come break up Kyogre and Groudon. For the first time, the game devs are sending you to find the legendary, instead of just using it as an option out of the way. You don't catch Rayquaza. Like you walk up and tell it something and it jets off. And then the cutscene is very well done. But the legendaries go back to their previous habitats. Remote, untouchable locations that you have to search deep and find and locate them, then battle them, and they are the goal of that journey. Not the friend you have made, but rather the proof the friends you made were worthy to achieve said goal. Again, anime preaches against their use, antagonization, and capture, and this time the game actively preaches against their antagonization and their capture and their use. So we've had a fourth thing added to our legendaries. Plot set pieces. Otherwise, they are treated the same way as the previous games. They're not yours. You're not supposed to catch them. Look, don't touch. We're box art. And they're going to be in a secluded, out-of-the-way place that you don't have to go to. Gen 4, this changes. The legendaries are hinted at, but never shown. You aren't allowed to catch more than one. And all 3 of Generation 4's games allow for a different legend. Depending on your game version, you either catch Dialga or Palkia, but not both. Until Platinum, when they added Giratina. This is a drastic change, but there is a bit of a catch. Get the pun I put in there because you're gonna groan, but you're only promised to catch one if you use a Master Ball. Otherwise, you don't get to catch more than one. Remember, this is in the days before Pokemon Bank and Home, where you could not restart your game to get more Pokemon. I understand that in Platinum, yes, you can go encounter Dialga and Palkia in a secluded place out of the way. But you've probably already blown your Master Ball on Giratina. There's no guarantee this is going to be successful. And once you've encountered it, that's it. You only get one chance to encounter them, and they are still being used as central aspect of the plot, but no longer are they in a place after the plot is finished, before you go to gym number 8, that you have to go hunting them. This is a massive change from the previous 3 generations. The legendaries are front and center and offered to you on a silver platter. The fight is guaranteed to happen for at least one of them. You will encounter it. You will fight it. It's the one on the box. So we have multiple kinds of legendary now. Those located in places that require special abilities to even access and are out of the way, secluded away. Those that roam and are difficult because the roaming is random and the chances are astronomically low. And then the front and center that must be encountered to progress. Beyond that, they are still preached against actively in the game by the game's other protagonists. Cynthia rallies against Galactic to get them to stop and that they shouldn't possess this kind of power. Even after you catch one, there are reservations about keeping it hinted in the story. Further, the rule of 1 applies. Once you get to Platinum, the restricted is lifted for just this generation where you can catch all 3 of them. But the other 2 are indeed battles with a catch chance, not the guarantee that you walked in with a Master Ball. And what 2 are up to you. Gen 5 promptly flips this script. You don't just get legendaries. You get 1 legendary. It is hinted at as the core of the game's plot. The plot and the considered completion of the game hinders upon that legendary. The legendary on your box. Black, it is the white dragon Reshiram, and white, it is the black dragon Zekrom. You are required to catch it. Should you fail, it boots you back to the Pokemon Center as if you just had all of your Pokemon KO'd. The game wipes you out if you don't catch the legendary. You must catch it. It is the box legendary too. Here, twin dragons are promised. Just the one gets to be with you. The other goes within and leaves the game world entirely. You cannot find or encounter the other dragon. So I just wanted you to hope that you picked the right one when you picked your copy. So over 4 generations, they have moved from hinted at and in hidden places to part of the plot, to the primary reason for the plot, and are a central focus with a requirement to catch. Gen 6 continues this trend with what Gen 5 did. You must face your box legendary. You must catch it. Gen 7 requires you to not only catch a legendary, but for the first time, evolve into its full form. Which makes the first game where catching the legendary isn't the goal. It's simply part of the game, and now you must raise it. That changes things. We went 6 generations where legendaries were the goal, were the standard of achievement. Now they themselves are a companion. That's a big change. However, Generation 8 reverts this pattern. back to what it previously was. The legendaries are hinted at. Whispers on the wind, visions in a dreamscape. You don't have to catch them. You do still have to face them, but you don't have to catch them. And 2 of them are hidden away, and you have to go find them. Think about that. Generation 9, everything changes, but everything changes all the time, and hopefully for the better. The legendaries are found at the beginning of the game. They are a core part of the game. You can even use them in battle. They are required for you to use at least to get around. And what's more, the strangest part, you know they are a legendary by the game's own admission. Until the end of the game, you don't even know that. They are just unusual Pokemon and a variant of Cyclozar, a common Pokemon that is used for transport throughout Paldea. They not only are central to the plot, but you raise them. You grow up with them, and they grow up with you. They recover from some mysterious ailment because of your actions. The cutscenes for the entire Path of Titans revolve around your legendary, and the final battle revolves around it as well. This is radically and drastically changed, but it is illustrated the only reason this legendary exists is because of a time paradox. So I'm not entirely sure how to take Generations 9 handling of a legendary, nor if this will continue or not. I don't know if it will or won't. Arceus, a spinoff of Generation 8, handles legendaries the same way Generation 4 did. And while in the same game, many people do consider it important to Pokemon games moving forward. So what are the general rules we can tease out about legendaries? You aren't meant to catch them. Sometimes you just have to. Central themes in the plot of the games, the anime, drive home the point that legendary Pokemon are forces of nature, not to be trifled with, not to be messed with, and not to be caught. To have such power is too much for one person to bear. And they are not to be interfered with and will not be tamed. When the game begins, they are going to be central to the plot. In any generation 3 and beyond, the legendary is the focus of the game's plot. The bad guys are trying to use them somehow to change the world to their twisted vision of what it should be. It is genuinely the case that in every single game you are going to face a legendary Pokemon, but because the bad guys are trying to use it for twisted reasons. And beyond, at least in nearly every Pokemon movie except the first one, and the anime in general, is going to tell you only bad guys use legendaries. If you catch one, you are only allowed one. Strangely, this is violated only in Platinum and Gen 1 and 2. Every other game, including Arceus, you get one legendary Pokemon. The one on the box of the game, actually. Except in Arceus, it's either Dialga or Palkia. But otherwise, that is how you're going to catch them. They will always be at the end of the game in post-game content. With the exception of Generations 9 Big Lizard Boyos and Generation 7's Cosmic Legendaries, yeah, you have to go out of your way to get them. They're going to be extremely powerful. You've been spending most of the journey training just to face them. And when you fight them, you will always have to brace yourself. Generally, between Gem 7 and 8 is when you will encounter your legendary. In the case of Articuno, this is the earliest you've encountered a legendary besides Generation 9 at Gem 6. The roaming doggos are so rare and often hard to access that it's suggested you only go hunting them in the post-game rather than before you become champion. No other exceptions. They appear at the end of the game, central to the plot, and it varies if you will get to catch them or not. They are treated as a boss encounter. often this is the case. They are central to the plot to face except in Gens 1 through 3. Furthermore, they will get their own theme songs, just as if you were facing a gym leader, an Elite Four member, or the champion. They are treated like the big bad boss, and you will face them. You are encouraged to not use them. Why? Let's go over it. By the time you catch them, most of the moves they could learn are already past. So you have to use a move tutor or TM to get moves you may think are better on them. They already have extremely high levels and therefore are not part of your journey, so to speak, so much as an achievement upon the journey. You cannot breed them to get new IVs or other modifications to their stats, personalities, quirks, egg moves, or abilities. Further, you can't adventure with them from level 1. The only way to start outside of catching them is to trade for them, and that means they won't obey you until you have enough gym badges. Literally, so much is restricted from their use in a game that almost feels neutered in a way. Not to mention, even if you give them a nickname, the NPCs in the game will still refer to them by their legendary name. That last part is important. It's an impersonal slight and social conditioning. By refusing to call someone by their new name, they do not achieve that new identity with you. There's the difference in referring to someone as Miss Williams and Mrs. Williams. By this indicator alone, you know they are married or not and assume things about them. Other things like legal name changes or nicknames establish an identity between you and that person. When you pet your dog, it's no longer the breed of dog as its identity. It's the dog's name. Period. So when a Pokemon's new name is not acknowledged by NPCs and it's referred to as if its name, such as Giratina or Kyogre, is its name. Look at how the sentence structure is. You've caught Kyogre versus you and your fletchling. Think about that. Kyogre is its name as far as the NPCs are concerned. This is likely because of how we refer to legendaries in a sentence. Allow me to give you an example further. If you can't tell, this is the beginning of the community section. Hey, this is my Pokemon, my Giratina. Hey, I caught Giratina. Cool, right? Which of these statements are you going to use? It's a simple question when you show off a legendary. A better question. Hey, you caught Suswing. Hey, is that your Suswing? We didn't ask what you named the Suswing. We asked if it was yours. Which of these statements are you likely to use? Which element does the game itself use? This is an example of ownership psychology, a way of projecting ownership when you say it. That is my car versus I drive a 2001 Ford Ranger. One of these things shows ownership and a psychological intimacy and almost attachment, a pack mentality towards the vehicle. The other tells people that you drive a certain vehicle, but the vehicle doesn't mean a ton to you. The same is true here. Often you will always ask your friends if they caught a legendary and use the legendary species name as its name. And they themselves will do it too. Let me give you an example of using my favorite Pokemon. Hey, have you caught a Fletchling? Hey, have you caught Fletchling? One of these is not grammatically correct and will get you looked at funny. I just referred to Fletchling, a common species of Pokemon in 3 different games, as a proper noun. I apologize, I've been talking for 45 minutes straight. My throat's a little dry. Now if I say, hey, this is my Fletchling, Glitch, versus, hey, I nicknamed Giratina Poop. See the difference? It's in our language and the way we talk about legendaries. They aren't our legendaries. They are just a Pokemon we happen to have. We don't own them as a friend or own them as a pet. We just have them available. Entire YouTube channels, as I mentioned earlier, make fun of players for using legendaries in battles. Temp6T has made a career that has nearly got him a gold YouTube button because he calls spamming legendaries as his primary video content to upset. It's gratifying to us as well to see someone who spams legendaries pay for it. Even using a legendary is taboo. They have the highest stats. They must be good, right? Only to prove that the stats are but one of those many factors in Pokemon match, and therefore shouldn't be the reason you choose a Pokemon as your battle partner. Tournaments ban legendaries universally or blatantly, in addition to Pokemon that aren't balanced properly or are event-only Pokemon at the time. They're looking to level the playing field and make it possible to get the exact Pokemon you want. I will give some examples now. VGS 2008 and 2009, specifically Latios, Zapdos, and Moltres, came in second and third. 2010 allowed them, and they dominated the top 8 teams with 4 on average on a team, with only second place of the top 8 having 3 on their team instead of 4. That's still half of their team. 2011 and 2012 had legendaries as well, but Cresselia being the most dominant choice, and Thundurus in 2011. I could go on, but this tells you that when allowed, legendaries are going to dominate the team's competition. Think about it. When you battle your friends and how unfair it feels to drop a legendary on them, or them to do it to you. What you see in front of you is a boss battle in one single Pokemon, and they still have 5 others to deal with. Since then, legendaries rarely make an appearance at VGS or Pokemon Worlds. Some of the most famous Pokemon Worlds matches are now matches for championships that no legendaries are involved. Looking at you, Pachirisu. If you are playing on YouTube or Twitch and actively using legendaries, you're shamed heavily by either your audience or just random strangers who stop by and see you using the legendary. It feels like legendaries are generally not respected, at least as a choice for a trainer to choose for their battle, or even use in a battle that they're desperate to try to get through. They're still reserved as bragging rights on social media. Their entire YouTube channel is dedicated to hunting shiny legendaries and shiny mythicals. But once you have them, they're just a trophy, not a battle partner. As I said, I did a poll on Twitter. Here it is again. It only has 45 votes. I was hoping for a little more. It's a small sample size. Now, according to it, of the 45 people who voted, 22% consider legendaries a part of their team. 44% might use them, and expressed in the replies that they would only use them for 1 or 2 battles if they had no other choice or feel like they needed the legendary to get past a hump. They use that language, by the way. They use them to get past that hump. They're a crutch, in their own words. That is the language that they chose. But if I'm talking about a Pokemon that means something to me, like Salad Maker, my Scizor earlier, or Glitch, or Ginger Tank, I would choose them and ask that they fight for me, not use them for a battle. Think about the way the difference of language I just used illustrates things, and how language is illustrated it earlier in this video. Do you use Pokemon in battles, or do you choose them? Do you use legendaries, or do you choose them? See that right there? That means that you're at odds with 35 out of 45 people in this poll. The legendary will either sit in the box, not be caught, or only be used as a crutch. So I ask again in the comments. After you hit the thumbs up, because you went through the entire video, and take 2 seconds to share this with your circle of friends so I can get more research data for a follow-up. And I desperately need that research data. I can't emphasize this enough. Put this on your Discord, put this on your Reddit, put this everywhere. I need that data for a follow-up video. And if I don't get enough, this video stops here. So every single Discord chat you have, I advise you, go to your Pokemon friends that are in that Discord chat. A lot of Discords I have specifically a Pokemon channel, even though they're not a Pokemon Discord. And ask them, please watch this. Give some feedback. I'd like to know more. Now, in the description, you'll also find a Twitter poll that you can go vote in, and a Google Doc that has a few questions, 6 in total. And I have the comment section as well, for those who don't want to have to click a link. And I'll cross-reference all of this data to come to a conclusion. So get involved with a very strange question. Are legendary Pokemon meaningless? Yes or no? First of all, I have Nuzzlock videos. And this was put out as a major video before our delay. There's a Nuzzlock video right here on screen. I'm not sure if it's Emerald or Platinum, but it's here. We hope to have the Platinum Nuzzlock video finished soon. It's going to be a 2-hour-long video, just straight up. Now, thank all of these people. We have nearly 50 patrons, and we need 4 people to step up and give $1 a month to get to that 50. And then I have to speed up making a couple of videos, as well as give something back and set the next goal. I'm trying to get where I know that there will be food in the refrigerator and a roof over my head, and it's a difficult struggle. Yes, it's genuinely that bad. I almost took an entire week of this month without buying groceries and just trying to make do. As this list seems long, reminder, everyone past the honorable mention point are people who are previous patrons and not currently active. It's basically a way of saying thank you to them for getting us this far. I have video editors and artists that have to be paid. It's always better to go a little further and stop being a patron at some point, because it counted for something and it helped along the journey. Gone but not forgotten are friends who have supported me and made an impact on my life since I started streaming and have passed away. Just thought I'd explain those 3. Discord is there as well. Anyone can join my Discord and come talk to me directly. I hit the like button. This is the last time I'm telling you. And share this with your friends and get them thinking and get their opinions to me. Every little bit helps make a more concrete pattern for this type of research. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. I'd like to thank Tribal Typhoon for becoming the latest patron since this video was started. Thanks, Tribal.